Today we're looking at and ranking the best power forwards from every NBA team. We're quickly getting through every position and we're almost finished. Center's coming up next, so make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that. And a lot more ranking videos are going to come afterwards in the future too, so subscribe now so you don't miss them. Number 30, the Wolves with Jaden McDaniels. Nothing special. 29, the Heat with Trevor Ariza. Ariza's been starting at power forward for Miami since they traded Kelly Olynyk, and he's been good, but also nothing special. 28, the Nets and Blake Griffin, and of course this is by far the lowest Blake has ever ranked in a power forward ranking video. And it's official, before he's ever reached 32 years old, his career as a star is definitely over. He's chasing a ring this season. I don't ever see him averaging anything near 20 points a game again. 27, the Magic with Otto Porter. Otto Porter was looking strong when he first got to the Bulls a couple years ago, but since then, it's been pretty rough. And now on the Magic, things haven't been looking any better, but hopefully he gets back on the right track. And Jonathan Isaac would take the spot if healthy, but he hasn't been in a while, so we couldn't include him. 26, the Thunder with Darius Bazley. And he's one of OKC's many talented young players, who looks like he has a pretty bright future coming up. It's hard to tell though with OKC who's really going to end up being great, since they have so many young guys trying to prove themselves. At 25 though, we have the Rockets with Kelly Olynyk. Since getting to Houston, Olynyk's been playing some of the best of his career. It's really not sustainable for him though, which is why he still just ranks here. Overall, a good power forward though. Then we have the Jazz at 24 with Royce O'Neal, and Royce isn't big on stats, but he's turned into a very solid 3-and-D guy for Utah in their starting lineup. He's one of their best on-ball defenders, and it's almost shooting 40% from 3. And he used to not be a great shooter, so it's good to see that he made that change. But then at 23, we have the Suns and Jay Crowder, who is the muscle for this Suns team. Great two-way player, and it may not always seem like it, but he's definitely a difference maker on any team that he plays for. 22, the Hornets and PJ Washington, who slightly beats out Miles Bridges, even though the man's having a great season too. And even though PJ struggled to find his new role on this improved Hornets team, he's still been solid. Then for the Grizzlies, we have Kyle Anderson at 21, and he may be the absolute, without a doubt, slowest player in the NBA. But unlike his speed on the court, he's shown some pretty quick progress in his career. He's found a good home in Memphis, and even though he's not your typical power forward, he works good in their system. Then at number 20, we have the Spurs and Rudy Gay. Now, LaMarcus Aldridge would have taken the spot, but he left the team then retired. And right now, currently, DeMar DeRozan is actually playing power forward for San Antonio. They're playing two guards, a small forward, DeRozan, and a center. But obviously, I couldn't rank him in a power forward video, so it goes to Rudy Gay, who's playing in that position, but off the bench. And Rudy's well past his prime. He's not a star player or anything near it anymore, but he's still solid and ranks here for the amount of experience he brings to any team. Number 19, we got Davis Bertans from the Wizards, who had a huge breakout year last season, averaging 15 a game on 42% from 3, and a lot of teams were interested in him. So the Wizards signed him to a 5-year, $80 million deal to keep him. And it just makes no sense for them to bring him off the bench this year and let Hachimura start and get more minutes. Why would you give him so much money if you're not even going to use him right? But of course, since they're the Wizards, that's what they're doing. 18, the Cavs and Kevin Love. Just like Blake Griffin's star career is over, so is Kevin Love's at only 32 years old. Seems like he's done with the Cavs, and how can he even be mad when they should be the one done with him? He's averaging career lows in every single category. He only ranks here for his experience and his ability to still have a good game every once in a while. The Cavs definitely blew it here. They're going to have to do something with him, and his trade value's now pretty much at 0. They had years to make it happen, but now they're not going to be able to get anything good for him. 17, the Blazers and Robert Covington, who's really transformed this Blazers starting lineup. I do like him playing small forward more than power forward, because at power forward it just makes him play smaller than I'd like, but he still fits good in that role, and his ability as a two-way player was more than enough to rank him this high. Then we got Draymond Green for the Warriors at 16, and this might be way too high for Draymond, it might not, it's just hard to say. Now, he's been a talented player, but I can't stand watching him play anymore. The fact that he passes up at least one wide open 3 nearly every single play, and rarely ever even tries to score, just makes him unwatchable for me. Good leader, not a fan of his role this year. 15, the Bulls with Lauri Markkanen, and man, another bad year for him. It's sad to see. His career started out looking great. Last year was a bad one, but it was okay because this was supposed to be the season where he bounced back. And he really hasn't, and lost his starting spot because of it. Now, this doesn't mean it's all over for him forever, but it's just not a good sign. Either way though, still good enough to rank at 15. And if we're talking about guys that looked like they had potential, number 14 for the Kings and Harrison Barnes is another good one to mention. Now, I'm not saying I ever thought he'd really be a star, but in those early Warriors days as their starter, he had a lot of people thinking he'd do big things after leaving the team, but instead he's bounced around a couple teams teams and has averaged just under 20 points a game ever since. Not terrible, but not as great as some expected. 13, the Nuggets and Aaron Gordon, and now is when the list really starts to level up. And Denver really couldn't have made a much better move before the trade deadline. I mean, maybe they could have gotten another point guard, seeing that Jamal Murray is now out for the year, but okay, when healthy, knowing what they knew, at the time they could not have made a better choice. They've been on fire since acquiring Aaron, and he was exactly what this team needed. He's not going to score a ton, but his defense definitely ranks him here. On the other hand, Marcus Morris at 12 for the Clippers does a good job of doing both. He's got great defense, but on the other end, he's not a total liability. Not saying Gordon is, but he is better than Aaron on that end. Right now, he's shooting over 47% from 3, and we saw just how good he was on the Knicks last year when he averaged almost 20 a game. So it goes to show that he is sacrificing to be on a good team. And just outside the top 10, we have John Collins at 11 for the Hawks, who might not be on the Hawks past this season. Now, he's a good player and I really like his game, especially playing with Trae Young, but apparently he turned down a $90 million contract from Atlanta in December because he's only looking for a max. Again, this dude's good, but he's not getting a max contract. I don't see him really getting that much better. I think he'll always be right around a 20 and 10 guy, which he currently is. I mean, for his sake, let's just hope he doesn't regret turning down that $90 million. Another team might offer him that much, but probably not too much more. On the other hand, we have Jeremy Grant at 10 for the Pistons, who has shown big improvements this year. Now, he started out the season on fire, but has since slowed down. He started out averaging about 27 a game to now going down to 22 a game, which is still great compared to last year, and of course some of his numbers are inflated from being on a bad team, but he's still gotten to show he can at least be a great second option player in the future, similar to Pascal Siakam. Number 9, the 76ers and Tobias Harris. We know what we get from Tobias Harris. I mean, there's not really much to say because nothing's changed with him. Good scorer, good shooter, great third option. Kristaps Porzingis then comes in at 8 for the Mavs, and it's tough. He really also hasn't changed from being that 20 and 10 guy since 2017. His game hasn't shown much improvements in years, and I don't think he's been the second option the Mavs hoped he would when they traded for him. But don't get me wrong, 20 and 10 isn't bad. He's still definitely a top 10 power forward in this league, and all it'll take for him to be great is a switch flipping for him like it has for Embiid this season. 7, the Raptors and Pascal Siakam. It went from looking like Siakam was going to be the guy for Toronto after Kawhi, but it's turned out that I think, like I said, he's just a good second option. I don't think he'll ever be the go-to guy for a team. I mean, it's hard for a power forward to break out into that role, and I just don't think he has the skill set to do so. But then for number 6, it goes to the Pacers and Domantas Sabonis. And I think he's another guy that would go great playing alongside a real star. It's by far been the best season of his career, even though sadly it hasn't been a good one for the Pacers. They really haven't lived up to expectations. He's been doing everything he can, but in a lot of ways Indiana's still a pretty young team, so there's no rush and the future's still bright for these guys. Number 5, the Knicks and Julius Randle, and none of these guys, besides Jeremy Grant maybe, have had a better breakout year than he has. He's averaging 24, 10, and 6 on 40% from 3, and as we know, made the All-Star team for the first time this year. And he's deserved it, leading the Knicks to the 4th spot in the Eastern Conference. It's been a huge turnaround for them, and New York giving him a chance and a big contract is actually really paying off. Number 4, the Celtics and Jason Tatum. The Celtics are finally getting back into the groove of things. It took them a while to get started, but now they have, and Jason's continued to get better every single year for Boston. He's shown a lot of improvements, but the next step is for him to become more of a playmaker so he doesn't just turn into a Carmelo Anthony type player down the line. 3, the Pelicans and Zion Williamson, and he ranks in at 3 at only 20 years old, which has been insane, but so far he's living up to every bit of the hype that he had coming into the league. Excited to see how much better he gets from here on out, and if he transforms his game over the years from a dominant scorer in the post to having a more complete all-around game, he's going to be a superstar for a long time to come. Because hey, he's adjusted his play style and has stayed injury-free. 2, the Lakers and Anthony Davis. A few years ago, I would have thought and hoped AD would be the best player in the league by now at 27 years old, but he's still in just about the same exact position as he was back then. It's been kind of a letdown that he hasn't had another major breakout season. Sure, he's been playing with LeBron, and maybe it's just me, but don't get me wrong, being the second best power forward in the league is nothing to complain about. I think we can all just agree though that we had higher hopes for AD as he entered his prime. Then of course number 1 goes to the Bucks and Giannis, and not the same could be said for him though, because he's shown major improvements every single year and easily takes a spot as the league's best power forward. And that's gonna wrap things up. Like I said at the beginning, Center's rankings coming up next, so like and subscribe so you don't miss the last video of the series. Comment to let me know what you would have changed, and I'll catch you next video.